What's your "oh you're not joking" moment? I work at a hotel. We have this regular who comes, but usually makes reservations ahead of time, and she has her favorite room she tries to get. Well, one day she walked in, asking for a room. I had rooms available, but not the one she wanted, and she replied, "Oh, call the guests in that room and tell them to move out so I can have it." I seriously thought that was a joke and I played along, saying I'll get right on that. As I was getting her info in the computer, all of a sudden she said, "Aren't you going to call them?" "Call who?" "Those guests in that room so I can have it." "Oh, you really weren't joking?" I told her that we don't do that. If she wanted that room she needed to call ahead. I have a room. I know it's not your preferred room, but it's all I've got, and you can take it or leave it. But I'm not moving a guest out. She seemed almost taken aback by that, but I told her that if she didn't take the room I had she wouldn't get anything. She calls ahead now, but I was mortified and shocked she actually tried this stunt and actually meant it. Had a neighbor who was a single guy in his 40s, divorced, had a college-aged daughter that stayed with him half the time. Seemed like they were having a sort of family reunion one weekend, and I saw him talking with others out on his back deck. A little while later I went over to ask to borrow something. His daughter answered, and I asked if her dad was there. She said her dad was dead, and I just chuckled and was like, haha, yeah right. She just looked at me and turned around crying and went back inside. Her mom, his ex-wife, came out right away and saw I was confused, shocked, and very apologetic. She was really nice about it, saying it had just happened and was the first time the daughter had had to answer the door. Apparently he had committed suicide. I obviously felt so terrible, apologized profusely. I thought for sure I had just seen him, and the way the daughter had announced it seemed almost light-hearted. Turns out who I saw on the back deck was his brother, who looked a lot like him, and all the family was there for the funeral. Have a relative who got a ton of help from us when they came to this country, checked in on his family, signed his kid up for sport, helped them move, gave them furniture, gave them heaters when they didn't have heat, etc, etc. My pregnant wife was assembling his dad's bed while he was at work. Once he got on his feet and found some friends he ghosted me. No call, no text, missed my kids' birthdays, not even an invite for a cup of tea. Recently got a call from him trying to sell me a car. That segued into talking about how he wants to move to another city. I'm wondering where he's gonna get the money to do it, but overall like haha, yeah, I heard it's nice. That turned into wanting the down payment to be deposited into his account and or a cosigner. Yeah. After politely declining for the sake of my father, I was told, okay, I won't keep you, bye. And for everyone asking, the one time we genuinely needed him, his family had come over while he was still back home. A relative died suddenly and there wasn't enough time to fly out for the funeral. Where we are from you can't get anything done without a man. A woman just won't be dealt with by key people who are needed, which sucks. He was the closest male relative who could have assisted, was expressly asked to do so, and completely flaked. Just came to the after party and ate the food. That was probably the catalyst that helped wake me up to how he truly was. A friend sent a photo of herself in a hideous wedding dress with guys. I found my dress and I completely thought she was joking. I would have responded with lol or a bath emoji, but got caught up and didn't respond for a few hours. When I checked my phone the other bridesmaids had written OMG Gorg love it etc, and I realized she wasn't joking. I was so relieved that I didn't respond first. Side note, but related, our bridesmaids' dresses were ugly AF and expensive. At least we all looked ridiculous that day. I had a friend in her 30s ask me to bridesmaid her second wedding. She was a widow. I'm a newly divorced single mom without a penny to my name. When I'm told I need to buy a $500 dress, but you can wear again. Narrator, you couldn't. I tell her I'm sorry, but I'll have to bow out of the wedding as I can't really afford that. A couple of days later, I get another call telling me she made a mistake and we can instead wear these $75 dresses. Turns out, she called her mom to complain about me. Her mom yelled at her for expecting anyone to pay $500 for a dress. She then picked out the affordable one, which, honestly, looked much nicer than the first one, and made her call me back. Working in a catalog store in the UK, you pick from the catalog, we bring it out from the warehouse, Lady comes in and orders the single largest thing we keep in store, a shed. Not a particularly big shed as sheds go, but still a shed. Okay madam, if you give me your vehicle's registration number I'll tell the security guys to let you round the back of the store. Park in bay 5 and we'll load it for you. What are you talking about? You have to park around back so we can load it into your vehicle. I don't have a vehicle. Oh, well, we have the numbers for some white van men and taxi services. If you'd like to. No, just bring it up. Keith can carry it. She indicates a portly man of around 50 across the room. He waves. Madam, it is a building. With all due respect to your husband, he absolutely cannot carry it by himself. She started getting angry, demanded that we bring the shed out to her. We did so. It took 3 guys to even lift it. We got it into the lift diagonally, though it trapped a man behind it, and when it came up she said, "What on earth is that? That's your shed." Madam, my Keith can't carry that. Yeah no would you like me to call a van service for you? She actually just got a refund and left. Tangentially mine. The other day, while sitting at a table outside the Sunset Grill, with advertising for their famous all-day breakfast plastered up the front of the building, an older couple comes up to the host stand outside and asks for a table. The husband speaks up before they are sat and asks, "Do you guys do all-day breakfast?" The host immediately thinks he's just being a typical older gentleman trying to get a laugh. So she does, as anyone who survives off tips would, which was immediately met with a less than enthusiastic, "What's so funny?" While she tries to compose herself surrounded by signs saying famous all-day breakfast, the wife just looked at him the entire time, asking if he even once looked around him at all today. Was in an informal meeting with someone that I was doing a project with. We were both self-employed and in the same industry, so our meetings were a lot more casual than a regular office context. A healthy active early 60 something starts talking jokingly about his imminent demise and death with me and the client. Now he's got an odd sense of humor and often jokes about strange stuff, so I smiled and laughed politely. He and the client stop and look at me and say, "Oh, we haven't told you." My heart sinks as they share that he has been having strange aphasic episodes, that it's getting worse, and they think he has a couple years left. I'm just a deer in headlights at this point. The meeting quickly ends, and I leave feeling terrible. That was about 6 years ago. He was able to get a diagnosis of a rare form of epilepsy, got on medication, and to my knowledge, hasn't had an episode, seizure, since. Still makes weird jokes though. Context: I work in telecom. Memorizing measurements and clearances is very important for my job. I was 22 at the time this happened. My co-worker doing my training was 51. My coworker is quizzing me on some basic training material and asks how far does A have to be from B. I tell him 1 foot. He looks at me and says that's wrong. It needs to be 12 inches away. I started laughing and jokingly said something along the line of haha, yeah got me there, only to turn back to see him looking upset and confused. I asked him if he was good, and he said, "You're a month in and this is very important. You shouldn't be getting this wrong. You have to be 12 inches away, not a foot." I stared at him in disbelief for at least 20 seconds trying to figure out if he was joking or not. He was not. Had to have a very awkward conversation afterwards where I explained that 12 inches and a foot were the same distance. This coworker was notorious for deflecting responsibility and refusing to admit when he was wrong, so he ended it with, "Well, I guess if you wanna think of it that way." I've got a few more similar stories about the guy. Luckily he wasn't my boss, just a coworker that got stuck training me for a while. He somehow lasted well over a year and a half after that, before getting fired back in April. By that time I had been promoted and no longer worked in the same department as him. In a strange way, I do miss him sometimes. He certainly was a personality. I worked as a supervisor for a travel agency that specialized in cruises. If you booked a cruise online through a 1-800 number that wasn't the cruise line directly, we probably handled your vacation. Lady had called in during the life of the booking and managed to be her way to some free onboard credit and a birthday celebration for her husband on my company's dime. Well, the cruise line messed up and did the decorations a day too early. She called from the ship via guest relations to be at us about it. One of the complaints was the decorations were ugly. They were basically glorified Party City decorations, but done in that cruise line branding. She demanded it be fixed. I thought she was only talking about them being up too early. I told her I could ask the cruise line to put them up the next day instead. She then asked how I was going to fix the other part. I was confused at first about what she was asking. She then proceeded to start all over about the ugliness of the decorations. I straight up asked her how she would like me to get her new decorations. That didn't involve a helicopter or me swimming out to the ship. After that she finally let me get off the line. Sent an email to the rest of the supervisor team saying that woman gets zero comp or refunds ever again.